100 years ago, coal miners working on Vancouver Island were in a life and death struggle for safety in the mines. The Ladysmith Cemetery is witness to that, with many headstones marking a single day, the loss of young men and old men. The miners turned to the United Mine Workers of America for support. Strikes to get union recognition were rebuffed, but the men continued to struggle. One day in September 1912, a miner, who was a union supporter, raised the alarm about dangerous levels of gas. He was fired and blacklisted. In response, the men held a one-day holiday, but returned to find themselves locked out. The families were evicted from their company housing, and the miners set up a camp on wasteland outside of the town and settled in for a long struggle. By the summer of 1913, the miners in Ladysmith had had enough. They formed a group and went down to the hotel where the European strikebreakers were staying. After some rock throwing, the strikebreakers left town. Then the Asian camp was visited, and they too left. With the police absent, the strikers were in control of the town. They protected private property, as their fight was with the mine owners, an Eastern syndicate. 3 days later, the militia arrived, bolstered by a section of the Seaforth Highlanders, complete with a heavy machine gun. No resistance was offered, and mass arrests ensued. Joseph Mairs was identified as a stone thrower and was fined $100 and sentenced to 1 year in Ocala Prison Fortress. As the winter moved into January, behind those cold stone walls, Joseph became ill and, denied proper medical care, died just short of his 22nd birthday. His fellow miners raised the monument in the Ladysmith Cemetery by selling a postcard showing a happier time. Joseph is posed in his Cycle Club shirt, the Union Jack emblazoned above the heart, in front of the prizes of another era, a leather suitcase, a glass clock, and a sterling bowl. Standing above the headstone is a stone obelisk, a monument to a young worker, a young union man. Engraved are the words, "A martyr to a noble cause, the emancipation of his fellow men." Through this enduring stone we still honor, a century later, this young man, Joseph Mairs. It is important for us to remember the labor struggles in Canada. Too often we take our labor laws and workers' protections for granted. Safe working conditions, the 8-hour day, overtime pay, minimum wage, the right to collective bargaining, and the right to strike. Workers in many other places around the world don't have the labor rights we enjoy and still face the same poor working conditions that people like Joseph Mairs struggled against 100 years ago. It is important for us to remember the gains our ancestors made on our behalf and support those who continue to struggle to protect those gains. You can find out more and get the dates of this year's memorial at josephmairs.ca.